Everyone, I'm just jumping back after having read the Rebbe's preface to the Tanya, the compiler's foreword, the approbations, and chapter one. And I understand now why nobody has done this in audio before, because there are a lot of footnotes and a lot of references mentioned. And if you're not familiar with any of the books that it talks about or any of the references, it can be very confusing. But I've shared the actual book, the text from Chabad.org, so it's really super easy to follow. And as I said before, I'll put in all the links that are needed. Um, that said, I found it to be remarkably enriching to read the text for myself because as I've said before, I mean, I've been, doing Tanya classes for a very long time, but in each class, typically what happens is that the teacher reads from the Hebrew and kind of paraphrases in English and explains certain concepts and, goes to various references and so on and so forth. So, I've never actually, although I've had the book, and I really do recommend that you go out and buy the book. There are other books like Lessons in Tanya, the Practical Tanya, which are kind of an anthology of classes that various rabbis have done, and they've got all their notes together, and the text of the Tanya is kind of broken up into bite-sized paragraphs, and there's lots of commentary and explanation of each paragraph. And that is absolutely essential. I mean, that is vital for study, for sure. I mean, you really do need someone who understands the text, is familiar with the principles and ideas, and is able to communicate that. I mean, there's no substitute for that. Um, but because I'm a bit of a bibliophile myself, I also love to read the text and let it speak to me however it speaks to me. And in fact, it's interesting. I mean, you'll see this if you do get to read the Tanya. He says this in chapter one. He talks about how, we're all different. And so, there are 70 languages and there are, I mean, 70 languages. They're more than that, but this is why I don't like to do videos because I see my mind going off in different directions and wanting to explain different things. So I won't do that. But basically, though, the Alter Rebbe in the Tanya acknowledges the fact that people receive information in different ways and they process data. We all process data in different ways depending on, for instance, the meaning that certain words have for us. You how we are inclined. Are we more intellectually inclined? How do we receive data? It's all different. We're all different in that way. I mean, we're all part of the same unity, and this is what we realize in the Tanya and in Torah and in every spiritual tradition. But we do have different ways of processing data. And so for me, it is important to hear it directly, to read the words directly. And I appreciate, I mean, it's a translation, of course, and, a lot is lost in translation. That said, these are translations that have been looked over by the rabbis and the Rebbe and many, many sages. And so I trust that, as much as words can convey meaning, the English, and also I'm very familiar with the work of Rabbi Nissan Mindel, who I think did the translation that we're using. Um, so I trust what I'm reading, and it's an incredible experience actually, just reading it like that for the first time. Isn't that crazy? I mean, even reading the approbations and what the sages of the day thought of the Alter Rebbe and how these words are received and the impact is just, it's a whole experience in and of itself, you know. And also just looking through the book and looking at all, there's so much that's contained in this book. I mean, you know, what we call the Tanya, the Sefer, the book of the in-betweeners or the book of the average man, is only just one, it's the first part of it, but there's so much more in the Tanya. There's so many parts and so many things. And then in this translation, in the English appendix, there's so many chapters and writings on, you know, Hasidism and, you know, the mystical dimensions of Torah. It's a phenomenal, phenomenal book. So, yes, I absolutely recommend the books that have broken this down, like, you know, lessons in Tanya or the practical Tanya. But there's no substitute for this. I tell you, this is it's incredible. It really is so worth it. I would, you know, run, don't walk, to go buy a copy of this for yourself. And of course, you know, participate in the daily study. There are, like I said before, I will put in as many links as I can um, to really help in this. But I am so glad to embark on this. I mean, this is such a gift for me to have the opportunity to do this. So I thank you all for sharing this with me wherever and whenever you're seeing this video. I feel the energy, I feel the love. I love you with all my heart. And I'll see you in chapter 2. Be well and have a great day. And, you know, if you're hearing this today, the 19th of the month of Kislev, Chag Sameach.